The World Health Organization is calling for urgent action in controlling the use of e-cigarettes among children. According to the organization, there is alarming evidence, I beg your pardon, that e-cigarettes have adverse population health effects. Some recommendations include countries banning their sale completely. Let's unpack this now with the president and co-founder of the Africa Harm Reduction Alliance. That's Dr. Kgosi Letlape, who's also a medical doctor and ophthalmologist, joining us via our video link this morning. Dr. Letlape, always great having you on Newzroom Afrika. Thanks for making time to speak to us. I wonder if we can just begin with the necessary context around this, because for some people watching at a distance, e-cigarettes were always kind of, bandied about as this healthy alternative to cigarettes, and we're learning a bit more now about their adverse health effects.
Good morning to you and to the viewers. I think what you've learned before is the truth. What is being sent out now by the WHO is certainly misinformation. E-cigarettes are not harmless, but they are significantly less harmful than combustible cigarettes. So the reference point is combustible cigarettes. It's not on their own, they are not a harmless product.
Right.
But if for those who can't quit, they are a better alternative than to continue on combustible cigarettes. The issue of youth initiation and vaping amongst youth needs to be dealt with separately. It's the same as how we deal with alcohol use amongst youth and teenagers. They should not be taking alcohol. So youth should not be taking cigarettes or taking vapes. And that needs to be dealt with separately. But remember that in South Africa, we have 12 million smokers, 30 to 40,000 of whom die from smoking-related diseases annually. And if they can't quit and they switch to a non-combustible product like a vape or a heat-not-burn technology or snus or smokeless tobacco, they would greatly reduce the health consequences and the chances of death. So you got to look at it in that context. So you can't just talk about banning the products outright when they are life-saving to people who will die. 30 to 40,000 South Africans that will die from smoking-related diseases can be relieved by switching to non-combustible products. So let us separate the youth use from use by adults that are consenting and that can make decisions, that are making decisions that harm them.
Right. That distinction is important. However, you mentioned that, e-cigarettes are life-saving. Those are the words you use. Are they, though, or do they just delay the point at which one's lives would be taken because they're smokers?
No, they do not delay. It's like saying if you do lifestyle improvements to improve your life and you live a little bit longer, you're still going to die. So you're delaying dying. All of us are delaying dying. And that's what we do when we promote improved lifestyles. Yeah, and remember, as a medical doctor, I say to people that smoke, quit. If you can't quit,
right,
use something less harmful.
And that's exactly the point I was making, right? So there is an admission that there is a level of harm that comes even with smoking e-cigarettes. I mean, ideally, you wouldn't smoke at all.
Just like there is a level of harm with adults that use alcohol.
Right.
Ideally, you wouldn't drink alcohol at all. But it is not banned, and people are not gung-ho. People make their decisions. We live in a stressful environment, and people find relief in all sorts of things. Remember, those that smoke find some benefit from smoking. Nicotine, which is what they are attracted to, is a stimulant. Just like caffeine is a stimulant. What is surprising is South Africa is gung-ho on the Dagga side to explaining to people that cannabis has benefits. It's when you smoke the Dagga plant and you get the tetrahydrocarbons that you get harm. It is the same principle in cigarettes. They smoke for the nicotine. That's why medically we give them nicotine replacement therapy. If you get your nicotine without combusting it, Prof. Seftel used to say, eat grass, don't smoke grass. Do not combust tobacco because it produces 7,000 or more chemicals, some of which are carcinogenic and harmful. When you do not combust it, you eliminate some of those harmful chemicals and you drastically reduce the concentration of others. Something like carbon monoxide is totally eliminated. So I'm a doctor. You come to me, you're sick, I have to help you. When you are doing things that harm you, I do not abandon you. I give you advice so that you can make informed choices. It is sad when the WHO now comes and behaves like a quasi-religious organization. Let me give you a fact. There are 5 or 6 nations that have ignored the WHO rhetoric and are doing better. Sweden, England, Japan, as a few examples. New Zealand. Now there's a country that is listening to WHO called Australia. Their youth smoking rates are going up. Coming down of cigarettes has slowed down. All these other countries that I mentioned, Japan has seen a near 50% reduction in cigarette consumption between 2015 and now, when they introduced heat not burn products into their markets. England has accepted vaping and it's seen greatly reduced numbers. Youth vaping becomes a problem. Let's come up with strategies to address it. Sweden is approaching 5% smoking rate, which is called the end of combustible cigarettes. People accept that this thing is so addictive that if you get to 5% prevalence use in your society, you've done well. Sweden was 5.7% beginning of the year. It's close to 5 now. It embraces all forms of low harm product or reduced risk product, from snus to vapes to heat not burn technology and now to nicotine pouches. They embrace all those and they've seen a significant decrease in tobacco-related diseases. Right. Remember this. A study was done in 2020 which shows that if other European countries had adopted the Swedish approach, they would have saved 350,000 lives per annum.
Sure.
That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about living forever.
Right.
But we're talking about saving lives and improving the quality of life of the people that are addicted to nicotine.
Fair enough. Let me read an excerpt from an article published on the WHO's website about 3 days ago, last week, I beg your pardon. This is part of what they say. They say e-cigarettes are highly addictive and harmful to your health, which we, at least you agree with the latter part. Whilst the long-term health effects are not fully understood, it's been established that they generate toxic substances, some of which are known to cause cancer and some that increase the risk of heart and lung disorders. And then they go on to speak about the effects of brain development or the effects on brain development, especially among young people. Are you saying the WHO has got it wrong?
The WHO has more than got it wrong. Let me just take an extract where they're talking about lung disease. I don't know if you remember, there was something called EVALI, e-cigarette vaping-associated lung disease. And they said it was caused by e-cigarettes. It was found that it was people that were vaping cannabis that was laced with acetate. Now, they still stick to that lie and put it in their publications. That is not what we expect from an organization like the WHO. It's been disproven that it was a lie. There's never been any scientific evidence of e-cigarettes causing lung disease. So we do not need to resort to lungs. Now this issue about we don't know what is happening long term, the very same WHO, and I supported them, were promoting the use of vaccines during COVID. I vaccinated 3 times. These were experimental vaccines. They were registered as experimental. We don't know what the long-term outcome is. They are still not a regularly registered product, those vaccines. But those are the best things we had to deal with COVID, and they use them. These alternatives that are non-combustible are the best things that we have to deal with people that are addicted to combustible cigarettes. We can't wish tobacco away, but we can reduce the harms associated with tobacco use.
All right.
That's what the WHO has done with COVID. Why are they not doing the same thing? You see, this is driven by one thing: hatred for the tobacco industry and indifference to people who smoke. People who smoke are treated like they're not humans. They're treated like they have no rights, and nobody wants to help them. I am a physician. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not a theologian. And I'm not going to lie to people. My duty is to inform you so that you can make informed decisions, to give you the truth about what products will do to you, what harm they can cause, and you make the choice.
All right. The insinuation that people who are smokers are treated like they have no rights, I think it's going to be met with much resistance, but let's not digress.
No. You can't meet it with much resistance. Look at our bill.
Right, okay.
Look at our bill. Smokers are not allowed to smoke anywhere. There's nowhere in the bill where they say, here's a place where smokers can smoke safely, here's a restricted place, but these are open spaces for others. They are being driven off the planet. They are being driven off the surface of the earth in this country. So make no delusions about the fact that there are people out there that don't see people who smoke.
All right. There are some people who I think will be sympathetic to the unique position that the WHO finds itself in, right? On the one hand, there is an admission, even in some countries, that there's been an aggressive marketing pulling young people into taking up these vaping, right? Simultaneously, we do agree that actually the best place we could all be in is if nobody smokes, vaping or normal combustible cigarettes. So given that unique position that the WHO finds itself in as a global organization that has to promote good health, what ought to have been the message to deal with the problems that we've just outlined?
The message should have been smoking cessation clinics being helped to quit, and those that can't quit being advised on less harmful alternatives, and those less harmful alternatives being readily available, encouraging governments to make sure that the less harmful product must be as accessible and as affordable as the harmful product, the combustible cigarette. Ensuring that they promote standards. Remember, some of these products use electronic devices. We need to make sure that we create product standards for those electronic devices. Ensuring that the alternatives are properly manufactured, properly tested, and that we get information about the emissions of those products. We do toxicological analysis, and we're transparent and truthful to the public about what do we find in the smoke of a combustible cigarette, what do we find from the aerosol of an e-cigarette or a heated tobacco product. And be clear about the fact that a nicotine pouch, or a tobacco pouch, there are no aerosols, there are no emissions, there's no dangers to others. And youth uptake has not been a problem. The same things were said about snus in Sweden 50 years ago. And there's never been a serious youth uptake in Sweden when they expose people to this. Educate, educate, educate. Inform, inform, inform. Make cessation clinics available so that those that are addicted can get into these clinics to get the therapy that they need, the psychotherapy, the assistance, the alternatives, the chemical, the drugs that we use to help people stop smoking. But for those that can't stop, please assist them to switch to less harmful products. Those that can't drink, we don't kill them. We still assist them in terms of drinking responsibly.
All right, Dr.
That's
Kgosi
what
Letlape.
we do with human beings.
Loud and clear. Thanks very much, as always, for weighing in on these issues. Appreciate your insights on the AM report this Tuesday. Dr. Kgosi Letlape is a medical doctor and ophthalmologist. He's also the president and co-founder of the Africa Harm Reduction Alliance. Once again, thanks very much indeed for weighing in.